you always want to make the impression that you're trying to help winning the game, right? I was checking Egyptian, and I think I mean, with a taskbar.
Okay,
but
Bob, you have no alibi? Electrical.
I go with green. We need to vote, guys.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
going
yeah,
green. I'm going green.
Fuck that, we didn't figure anything else out.
Hello everyone and welcome. Of course, as a poker player and poker coach, I was super thrilled to play Among Us. I think it's a great game to practice your self-awareness, to practice your ability to read people, to pay attention to small details. And in this video, I want to share 5 tips on how you can make sure that you win the games as an imposter or as a crewmate. Of course, as a poker player, you need to have the ability to not only read players or your opponents, but also to not give away too many tells. So there are two sides of the coin, and I've seen especially beginners that are focusing too much on trying to read other people, but then once they're in the position of the imposter, they're a little overwhelmed, they're giving away a lot of tells, and it's very easy to pick onto them, right? Of course, I'm not a master in Among Us. I haven't played it for hundreds of hours, but I have a lot of experience as a poker player. So yeah, I hope you're gonna enjoy those tips, and let's jump right into it. Tip number 1, the biggest mistake I see, especially for beginners, is they're imposter and they're trying to hunt for kills right away. That goes well for a round or two, but keep in mind, the crewmates, they remember who they have been together with. And if you don't have an alibi for the first 1 or 2 rounds, or if you have been on your own for the first 2 rounds and nobody can say, yeah, I saw him, I saw him in the admin room, or I saw him at the storage room doing tasks, then you will get suspected very fast and you will get voted out of the game very, very quickly. So make sure to stay around with other players for the first 2 rounds. Of course, you can still make your kills, but you need an alibi. And how you can still make your kills whilst having an alibi, we're gonna touch base on that in the later tips as well. But for my first tip, make sure to stay with the group at least for a certain amount of time in the first rounds as well. This brings me to my second tip. Use the vents as imposter as much as possible. I just mentioned it that you want to stay around with the group. I remember I had yesterday a game as an imposter. Unfortunately, I don't have the footage here, but the first 2 rounds I made sure that I stick with other players as much as possible. So in the meetings, they could say, yeah, I saw Ben there, I saw Ben there. But then I tried to isolate myself from the group to isolate other players and kill them. Then I jumped into the vent, I went to the other side of the map, and I blend into the group again. Of course, always a little bit risky using the vents, but I think they're extremely overpowered. Not necessarily overpowered, I mean, they're part of the game, but you should use them. They're extremely strong. It's always a little risk, of course. Someone might see you. Make sure that the cams are turned off so you don't vault out of a vent while the cams are turned on. And it's always risky to use the vents. However, it's always risky to kill someone. You might always be seen, and I think this gives you the highest chances of winning the games. People can say, yeah, I saw him on the other side of the map while the kill happened on the other side of the map. So use the vents as much as possible, and I'm pretty sure people are gonna give you an alibi. If others don't see you around a lot, you will get suspected probably already in the second round, and then it's really hard to change your image. So at least the first 2-3 rounds, you want to be safe. You want to have players vouching for you. You want to have alibis that you then later on, if you get suspected, can use for your advantage. You can say, hey, remember, they said I was safe, right? So you have something for your defense. What's the problem for most imposters is once they get suspected, they start hesitating. They start using s and and then very often you only have 90 seconds. So you don't have 5 minutes to defend yourself. So you want to say, hey guys, I will save the first rounds. What's going on? Yeah, this round and round 3, I was on my own. I was by the camps. I was trying to find who's the imposter. And usually this will convince people if you have something to say to your defense very, very fast. So you need to think a little ahead once you get suspected. And it's very likely that at some point you will get suspected, the less players are going to stay in the game.
To investigate the disappearance of
Ben CB.
My third tip for imposters, and I really like this one, I'm a big fan of using the cams, is in general, try to create chaos. I'm not saying that you should randomly point, oh, I think it's him, I think it's him. This will this will arise a lot of suspicion, and you're gonna get kicked out of the game very fast. But also as an imposter, try to gather some intel that you can use against other players. For example, using the cams as an imposter as well. And while doing that, maybe you see someone running on its own around the cams, you can kill him, then you can then vent away, right? Or if nobody's around, you can use the cams to use that intel to bring that up during the meetings. If you see someone running around on its own, you can gently bring that up during the meetings. Hey guys, I saw this guy running around on the cams alone. Others might see you by the cams. Once again, you have an alibi, you have something to contribute, and you create a little bit of chaos. A very gentle chaos. As I said, don't pinpoint towards others randomly just to create chaos. It should be very gentle, right? You want to seed a thought of suspicion towards others. So this always has helped me also winning a lot of games, because then I make the impression that I try to find who are the imposters, but I do it in a very subtle way. And I have legitimate reasoning, right? If someone asks me, hey Ben, where have you been? What did you do? You always want to make the impression that you try to that you're trying to help winning the game, right? I was checking Egyptian, and I think I mean with a taskbar.
Okay, but you have no alibi. Electrical.
I go with green. We need to vote, guys.
I'm going
green.
Fuck that. We didn't figure anything else out.
If you just say, yeah, I was running around there, but nobody saw me. It's like, hey, I was by the camps. I want to see if I can see something. And in fact, I saw green being on its own. I saw you and you were together. I can vouch for you. I can confirm that story. And this is what crewmates would do. And you want to blend into the crewmates, right? So, and then any kind of information that you might pick up on the cams, or while you run on your own, even if you run around on your own, if you might pass someone who is on your own, bring that up, right? This arises suspicion, and you're right? You don't want to make up a story, but I think using the cams and then whatever you pick up is quite strong for you as an imposter to not get caught. So as an imposter, it is very important to gather some intel that you can use against the others. If you have nothing to say, this will also arise quite some suspicion at some point. So you want to find the right balance between being able to contribute, but not doing it too much, because what most imposters do, especially at beginners, they overdo it. They're like, it was him, or maybe it's him, and they randomly pinpoint, and then at some point the story doesn't make up anymore, and then you make yourself very suspicious, and very likely you're gonna get voted out of the game. My fourth tip, and this is now focused on the crewmates, pay attention, because I think that's a very big read. Pay attention to those who create chaos and who hesitate. So as a crewmate, you know which tasks you did, right? You know which rooms you have been into, you know which players you have met along the way. You might not be able to name the rooms precisely, especially at the beginners, but you know, yeah, okay, I was on the west wing, and then I went south, I did the task there by the storage. You know it right away. But usually, especially beginners, they hesitate a little bit. They were like ums and and maybe nobody can really confirm that story. That hesitation usually is a sign that there's something off. If there's someone who's always doing it because he's under pressure, be careful with that. So it's very important to also pay attention when crewmates are telling their story. You want to have some sort of bottom line. You want to know, how do they act when they're crewmates? How do they tell their story? Is it always quite straightforward, quite fast? So I give you also an additional advice here to always take your time, right? Even if as your crewmate is like, hey guys, let me elaborate. Take your time, do it slow. So you still have a few seconds to adjust if you're an imposter, if you really need to make up something. But if you're like, I was there and there and there and there, and did this, and you in 5 seconds, this is very hard as an imposter. You get into that situation when you don't really have an alibi and you need to make up something. Take your time. Maybe it's like, hey, what did you say? Hey, sorry. It's me? Okay. Of course, you're just faking it. And then you make it up, right? But usually those who hesitate and they're mumbling a bit, that's a good sign that they are imposters also. Pay attention, then I mentioned that earlier, who are trying to create too much chaos, who try to randomly pick onto people, trying to put the blame onto others. That's usually also a very good tell that someone is the imposter. Of course, this is now more aimed for, the game is, it's quite old. I think it's already out there a couple of years, but now everyone started playing it. So there are a lot of beginners around. It's very easy to read them. It's very easy to get tells on them. And it's very easy to win those games. I might make an additional video on how you can also read more experienced players or at least not lose an edge onto them. I mean, everything that I'm telling you is, I'm pretty sure also experienced players are doing that. So don't get fooled. They can play imposters very well. And you should probably try to take those points into consideration if you play against very experienced players. So just to sum it up for my fourth tip, those who are hesitating, usually a strong read, and also those who create chaos, overdo it, pushing it too hard, very strong read that they're imposters. My final tip, and this is my favorite one when it comes to the killing part. You don't just want to run around and randomly kill people. You need to have a strategy. For the first round, it's a little bit more random. You might already have some sort of chemistry with certain players that, you know how it is. You have certain group dynamics. There are some players who are always suspicious towards you. You should get them out of the game as fast as possible. But sometimes they're always in a group. It's hard to kill them. But from round 2 onwards, always try to kill those who are safe. Remember, you want to create chaos, and you can only create chaos when you get rid of those players who have an alibi, who others can vouch for. If you kill those who are already suspects, which are actually crewmates, and as an imposter you know who are the crewmates, you later on get a lot of problems. If there are like 6 left and you have 2 imposters and all the other 4 can vouch for each other because they saw each other doing tasks, then it gets really dicey to convince the others that you are a crewmate. So when you have 5 left, 6 left, even 7 left, you want to still have 1 or 2 other suspects that might get voted out of the game, right? Or that the crewmates are afraid of and they might not go with them. So they're isolating each other, they're running into 2 groups, or even they think you're safe and they're running with you and then you can kill them, right? So pay attention to the meetings, and whoever is very safe, kill them. It's like, hey, I saw him doing 2 tasks, he was with me all the time. Try to kill him if you have the chance. This should be your strategy. It's not always possible. There's always still a lot of luck involved, but I think this is going to help you winning a lot of the games. As a bonus tip from a poker player here is try to pay attention to the voice of someone. You can also close your eyes. Try to listen how does someone sounds when he's a crewmate. Keep that in mind. Is he a little louder? Is he a little more silent? His speed, is he talking very fast? Is it rather slow? Is it straightforward, or is it more like in brackets? Like, you know, is he just talking more like this, or is he just more talking like this? I think you can pick up on a lot of reads there as well. And usually in poker and live poker, there's not so much talking going on during a hand. So here you have a good tool that you can use, and you don't need to be an experienced FBI profiler. You want to have a baseline. So the first thing you want to do is listen how someone talks. Again, what's his baseline? 2, 3. Usually when you play 5, 6, 7, 8 games. So the first 2, 3 games, try to, and not everyone, just on a few. You can't remember everyone. Maybe the ones you think are the better players, so you don't get outplayed. How do they talk? It's really hard, even for myself. I got caught. That is why I was an imposter, and only those tips have helped me. But there were 1 or 2 guys. Ben, your voice is different this game. I remember we had this on stream. I was like, fuck, really? So pay attention, even though I'm trying to pay attention that my voice is always the same. But it's really hard. It's really hard, especially when you're under pressure. You want to think of all the things that you need to say, that you don't get caught, that you don't get a suspect. Then you forget about the voice. It's not possible. All right. So pay attention to the voice. But of course, you need to have a baseline. And then based on that, if you see anomalies, if you see differences, you're going to have a good read. Don't bring that up though, right? Don't just like, his voice is different, because you can also use it in other games. Don't reveal your reads too fast. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed those tips. I'm pretty sure those tips are gonna help you winning more games. And then see you next time.